This is a story of horror. It happened many years ago, but I still remember it clearly. I will never forget it, and my wife will never forget it either. After we were married, my wife, Amelia, and I went to Germany. We went to stay in the old city of Nuremberg. In Nuremberg, Amelia and I met an American. Like us, he was on holiday. His name was Elias. The three of us became good friends and we spent a lot of time together. Every day, we went round the city looking at the buildings. They were very old and very beautiful. The oldest building in Nuremberg is the castle. The castle stands high above the center of the city. From the castle, visitors can look down and see the city below them. There is a moat at the foot of the castle walls. At one time, the moat was filled with water. The moat kept the people in the castle safe from their enemies. Now, however, there is no water. There has not been water in the moat for hundreds of years. Today, there are fruit trees and beautiful gardens in the moat. The road up to the castle is steep and long. One day, Amelia, Elias, and I went to visit the castle. We walked up the steep road and looked down at the gardens in the moat far below. It was summer and the sun was hot. People were sitting in the shade under the trees in the gardens. It was a beautiful scene. We walked further up the hill and looked down again into the moat. Far down, near the bottom of the wall, we saw a cat. It was a large black cat and she was playing with her kitten. The kitten was chasing its mother's tail and they were happy together. It made us feel happy too. How happy they are, said Elias. Let's join them in their game. We can play with them. Elias bent down and picked up a stone. Look, he said, I'll drop this stone. It will fall near the kitten, and it won't know where the stone came from. It will puzzle the cats. Be careful, said Amelia. She looked unhappy and frightened. Please be careful. Don't hit the little kitten with the stone. I won't hit the kitten, replied Elias. I want to play with them. I don't want to hurt them, but it's a long way down, said Amelia. It's dangerous. No, said Elias. Look, I'll drop the stone far away from the kitten and its mother. Elias bent over the wall. He opened his hand and dropped the stone. We all looked down. The stone fell and hit the kitten. The kitten died immediately. The mother cat looked up. Her green eyes stared straight at us. Then she looked at her dead kitten and licked its body. She looked up at Elias again. She opened her mouth and showed her sharp teeth. Her teeth were red with the kitten's blood. Suddenly the cat tried to run up the wall. She wanted to reach us. She ran up a short way and then fell back to the ground. She fell on top of the kitten. Her fur became red with the kitten's blood. The cat looked very frightening. Amelia was so upset that she felt ill. I took her to a nearby seat. She sat down in the warm sun. I walked back to the wall. Elias was standing there. He was looking over the wall. The cat was still trying to run up. She wanted to reach us. Every time she tried to climb up, she fell to the ground again. She looked more horrible every time. The poor cat is going mad, said Elias. It was an accident. I'm sorry. I dropped that stone. I only wanted to play with the cats. I didn't want to kill the pretty little kitten. Amelia felt better after a few moments. She walked back to us. We all looked over the wall again. The cat looked up at us. She saw Elias and tried to run up the wall once more. Oh, the poor cat, cried out Amelia. She's so angry. She wants to get near you, Elias, and kill you. Elias laughed when Amelia said this. He was a brave man. He was not afraid of a cat. A cat could not hurt him. The cat heard Elias laugh. Immediately she stopped looking at us and went to sit down beside her dead kitten. She began again to lick the blood from its body. We left that part of the wall and walked on towards the castle. From time to time, we stopped and looked down over the wall. Every time we looked down, we saw the cat looking at us. She was following us. She was walking round the bottom of the wall. At first, she was holding her dead kitten in her mouth. Then she took the kitten and hid it somewhere. She followed us by herself. We went on up the road. We came to a big gate. From the gate, a path led to the castle. There is a very famous building in the grounds of the castle. This building is called the Torture Tower. The Torture Tower is the most interesting building in the city of Nuremberg. We went into the tower. We were the only visitors there. A man was sitting by the door. He was a guide. His job was to show visitors round the tower. The tower was very dark inside. The only light came through the door. We began to climb up the dusty, wooden stairs. At the top of the stairs, there was a large room. There were a few small windows in the walls of this room. In the light from the windows, we saw the things in the room more clearly. There were large swords on the walls. These swords were so big that they had to be held with 2 hands. On the floor, there were blood-stained blocks of wood. Hundreds of years ago, people's heads were cut off on these blocks of wood with an axe. Everywhere there were horrible instruments. These instruments were used long ago to torture people. Some of the chairs had sharp spikes on their seats. People were hurt when they sat down on them. There were iron collars to put round people's necks. There were things that looked like baskets, but they were made of steel. A basket was put over a person's head and the head was crushed very slowly. All these things were horrible and frightening to look at. Amelia's face went white and she held my hand. In the center of the room, there was the most frightening thing of all. This was called the Iron Maiden. It was made of metal and was shaped like a woman. It was covered with dust and was very dirty. It was very old too. On the front of the metal body there was a ring made of iron. There was a rope on the ring. The other end of the rope went through a pulley on a wooden pillar in the room. The guide showed us this Iron Maiden. He pulled the rope and the front part of the metal body opened up. It was like a heavy door on a hinge. We looked inside the body. There was room inside for a person to get in and stand up straight. The door was very heavy. When the guide let go of the rope, the door fell quickly and shut tightly. We looked at the inside of the door more carefully. It was very frightening. On the inside of the door, there were long iron spikes. These spikes had sharp points at the ends. When the door was shut, some of the spikes went through the eyes of the man inside. Other spikes went through his heart and his stomach. Amelia saw these spikes. She was so frightened that she fainted. I carried her downstairs and out into the sun again. I sat with her. Soon she felt better. We then went back and found Elias. He was still looking carefully at the Iron Maiden. "I want to get inside that," Elias said. "I want to see what it feels like to stand inside. But first you must tie my hands together and then my feet." Elias spoke with great excitement. "We must find some rope," he said to us. Elias spoke to the guide. "Bring me some rope." The guide did not answer. He did not move. He only shook his head. Elias took some money from his pocket. He offered it to the guide. "Here, take this money," Elias said to him, "and don't be afraid." The guide took the money. Then he found a piece of rope. He came back and tied the rope round Elias' hands. Then Elias said, "Wait a moment. Don't tie my feet together now. I'm a heavy man and you won't be able to lift me into the Iron Maiden. I will get inside. Then you can tie my feet together when I am in." While he was talking to us, Elias got inside the Iron Maiden. It was just big enough. There was no room left in it. Amelia looked frightened, but she said nothing. The guide tied Elias' feet together with the rope. Now Elias could not move at all. Both his arms and his feet were tied tightly together. Elias was very happy and he smiled at Amelia. That's good. He laughed. Now close the door very slowly. Oh, no, 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 cried Amelia. I can't watch you. I can't. Elias looked at Amelia and then at me. Take Amelia outside, he said. She's afraid. Take her for a walk. Amelia did not move. She held my arm tightly and she trembled with fright. Slowly, very slowly, the guide let the rope go through the pulley. The door closed little by little. The spikes got nearer Elias' face and body. He looked happier and happier as they got nearer and nearer. After a few minutes, the guide had let the door down only a short way. I looked at Amelia. Her lips were white. She was not looking at Elias. She was staring at the ground near the bottom of the Iron Maiden. I looked too. The black cat was sitting there. The cat's eyes were shining. There was still blood on her fur. I cried out, "Look, there's the cat." The cat stood up. She looked very fierce. Elias saw the cat and laughed. Has the cat followed us here? He laughed. If she comes near me, kick her with your foot. I can't move. Just then, Amelia fainted. I put my arm round her shoulders to hold her up. At the same time, the black cat gave a loud cry. She jumped up quickly. She did not jump towards Elias. She jumped at the guide. She scratched his face with her long, sharp claws. Her claws went into the guide's eyes and down his cheeks. His cheeks were badly torn. The guide screamed. He jumped back and let go of the rope in his hands. The rope ran through the pulley. Elias saw the rope slipping past him quickly. For a second, he looked terrified. His eyes stared straight ahead. His lips moved, but no sound came from them. The door fell and shut tight. I pulled open the door. When I opened the door, the spikes came out of his body and Elias fell onto the ground. His face looked awful. One hurried to Amelia. I took her outside and put her on the seat in the fresh air. I did not want her to see Elias' body. It looked very, very horrible. I then ran back into the room. The black cat was sitting near Elias' head. She was purring loudly and was licking the blood on Elias' face. Quickly, I walked over to one of the walls and took a big sword in my hands. With all my strength, I raised the sword above my head and let it fall suddenly. I was right to kill the cat. I am sure of that. No one can say that I was cruel. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and give it a like.